4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling toll-free 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
We predicted it right here on this show in real time. So why does the president need to back up? Why does he need to catch his breath? Why does he need to stop sounding like Richard Nixon in a bunker, trying to explain why he didn't lie to the American people when New York Magazine has a tape of him doing just that 26, 27, 28 times? Because what happened in 2010 with the overreach is impacting politics today in Washington, D.C. And if this continues much longer, yes, the website will be fixed. But the scar tissue politically is going to elect a lot more people in 2014 that look like the people that were elected in 2010. This doesn't all happen in a vacuum, Mika.
All right. Welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show, folks. It is, Wednesday edition. And that, of course, was Joe Scarborough and his take on the Obamacare fiasco and what it might mean politically. And coincidentally, he has a book out where he talks about, just about more of the same. It's called The Right Path, From Ike to Reagan, How Republicans Once Mastered Politics and Can Again. I'm holding that up in my hands here for all of you watching at Newsmax TV to check out. And we are now joined by former Congressman, host of Morning Joe on MSNBC, best-selling author, Joe Scarborough. Hello, Joe.
How's it going, Steve? Good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you. You know, I don't know why I don't no disrespect, but I don't think of saying hello, Congressman, which is what I do when I have former congressmen on, because I guess you've been a TV guy for so long. I just feel like calling you Joe.
We go back a very long way, you and I, Steve, which means that we're very old.
I guess we're getting old, yeah. No, actually, of course, as I've let people know from time to time on this show over the years, I filled in for you back when your show was on at night at 10 at night, and then I'd go into WABC and do the overnights. But you were always good to me then, and I always enjoyed filling in for you.
Well, you did a great job, and Phil Griffin always said to me when I was first on TV, he said, "Look at that guy." He goes, "Listen to that guy. He's a broadcaster, Joe, and you've got to learn how to be a broadcaster." I always thought that was, Phil's a very tough guy, a tough critic, and I always did, and I listened to you, and Phil is exactly right. You can tell people that have been doing this for a long time who are good and talented at it.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. All right, let's talk about the book. We have some time to chat, and I'm really looking forward to it. The Right Path. The approval ratings are out today for Barack Obama in the CBS poll, 38%, 37%. Yeah, and confidence and believability, honesty. It just reflects every other poll that's been taken in recent days and recent weeks. So with that in mind, going forward, what is, and the healthcare, the approval ratings at an all-time low, 60-some-odd% want it done away with completely. So your book is The Right Path. What is the right path for Republicans in consideration of where we are politically now going forward?
The first thing we do is we look back, and we look back to our heritage, and we look back at what we were doing back when we were winning 49 states. We won 49 states in 72. We won 49 states in 84. We won 5 out of 6 presidential elections. We were the center of American politics. It was Democrats that were pulling their hair out every 4 years because they always thought they were going to be able to beat us, and they never managed to do it, except for when they ran 2 Southern Baptist Democrats from the Deep South. The fact is we've got to look back to the past. We got to see what worked, and we've got to do that moving forward in the future. And this is what works. This is when Republicans win presidential races. It's when they nominate people that are conservative ideologically and moderate temperamentally. And what I mean by that is Reagan, very conservative guy, but he was moderate temperamentally. He figured out how to connect with middle America. As he famously said in that David Stockman book, The Triumph of Politics, his people came for another wave of spending cuts, and he raised his hands, guys, I don't wear the black hat. Reagan understood it wasn't enough to fight. You have to fight smart. Because if you keep fighting in a way that offends swing voters in the Philly suburbs or the I-4 corridor in Florida or in other swing areas, Columbus, Ohio, you're not going to win national elections. We figured out how to win congressional. This is how we do it, Steve. We do it not by saying, agree with us 100%, or else we're going to shut down the entire government. The way we do it is we come up with our own alternative to Obamacare. And over 2014, first of all, I'd say stay out of the way. Napoleon said when your enemy's destroying themselves, don't interrupt. I think we should let this play out. The president wanted health care. He bought health care. He broke health care. Now let him try to fix health care, and I don't think he's going to do that. But in 2014, we've got a lot of Democrats that are running in red states, whether you're talking about Arkansas or Louisiana or North Carolina. And we've got a chance to actually get them on our side and vote for amendments that will significantly amend Obamacare in a way that will be popular in those states. And so we can actually rack up some legislative victories that makes Obamacare less what President Obama wants and more what small government conservatives want.
All right, but Joe, you talk about appealing to the moderates. I mean, we ran, for crying out loud, John McCain and Mitt Romney,
right?
Who
exactly.
were? I mean, they were too. Wait. They were too far. Wait. Let me ask you a question.
We elect people that are ideologically conservative. Those guys weren't conservatives. They were creatures of the Washington establishment. They were basically ordained before, the first primary was even completed. And we got it backwards, Steve. I'm glad you brought that up because the people we're nominating are Washington establishment types that are moderates ideologically, and then unfortunately put off a shrill sort of a shrill temperament. So it's just the opposite of what Reagan was and what we need.
All right, but now I'm just interested in your characterization of shutting down the government by not bending. When in fact, Joe, I could make, and I think I could win an argument before a truly objective audience, that it was the president and the Democrats who did not budge an inch, would not budge an inch, said no negotiations, went so far as to not fund the National Institute of Health for Kids with Cancer because they were so the Republicans first wanted a year's delay. Then they backed it up to, hey,
right.
postpone the device tax or just let the Congress be subjected to the same law. They didn't want anything. And the president, for the first time in budget negotiations and debt negotiations, said, no, he was my way or the highway. Why do you say it was the Republicans who shut the government?
Actually, I mean, when you talk that way, it makes me laugh. Because that's the same exact thing I was screaming at walls in my apartment in Northern Virginia in 1995 and 1996. Like Bill Clinton, he vetoed all of these appropriation bills because we had threatened to shut down the government. And so Bill Clinton said, okay. And then he vetoed all of these appropriation bills. We sent him a legislative appropriation bill, to which he said at a press conference, when they said, well, is there not enough funding there? He goes, no, I just wanted to send a message. And it drove us crazy. But you see, we got on the wrong side of this thing strategically. We talked about shutting down the government. We threatened to shut down the government. And the whole debate was framed wrong. Throughout the entire shutdown process, I said, you know what? We've got to figure out a way. Give the president the CR with our funding numbers for 2-3 months. And let's reset this debate and make sure the next time we do it, we don't do it in a way that puts us rhetorically behind, or strategically behind the eight ball. Listen, everything I've talked about, and I've said it on the show a million times, I don't disagree with Ted Cruz or Mike Lee. I love Mike Lee, those guys ideologically at all. It's just a strategy. It was the equivalent of like running on 4th and 31. Well,
that would surprise people. But Joe, we got 30 seconds in this segment.
What would surprise people?
Right, running on 4th and 31.
But that's what we did strategically. It was idiotic.
I know. All right, listen, stay where you are. We'll come back. We'll do another segment here. We'll pick up where we left off and then talk about some other issues. Steve Malzberg with Joe Scarborough, and he has a new book out, The Right Path, From Ike to Reagan, How Republicans Once Mastered Politics. And again, we're coming back with another segment with Joe Scarborough, host of Morning Joe, right here, Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54 with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th birthday commemorative edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax magazine every month.
Larry works on the construction site when he's not held up with constipation. Mary sits all day at a desk, which does little to relieve gas and bloating. You can't schedule abdominal discomfort, but you can help alleviate it with Back2Pro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Back2Pro is the fiber probiotic supplement that comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. It includes the most essential ingredients necessary to help support your healthy digestive and immune function. Experience the results. Learn how you can receive a 30-day supply of Back2Pro. Just visit Back2Pro.com/offer. All you cover is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Do something about your digestive health now. Get your 30-day supply at Back2Pro.com/offer. That's BACTIPRO.com/offer. Limited time only. Back2Pro.com/offer.
574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
Get off the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll-free at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
And welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. My very special guest is Joe Scarborough, host of Morning Joe on MSNBC, and, of course, the author of a brand new book, sure to be a bestseller like his previous one, The Right Path, From Ike to Reagan, How Republicans Once Mastered Politics and Can Again. Joe, really appreciate you doing this. Let me pick up where we left off. Don't you think, and we were talking about the strategy of the shutdown and who's to blame, don't you think it's the media that framed it in the wrong way? Don't you think the media, you said you laughed at my argument because it reminded you what you were shouting at the walls back in the 90s with Clinton, but don't you think a fair media would have looked at both ways and said, well, the president, he didn't budge. Right. He said no talks.
Steve, though, we're talking about this president with low approval ratings. We're talking about 2014. You played a clip of me saying 2014 is going to be like 2010. I mean, people in Washington, D.C. have such amnesia because everything that's happening now has happened before. Everything that happened with the government shutdown happened before, and we have to understand that. I remember going on Rush's show after the last government shutdown, and he had me on for like 30 minutes. It was like a really big deal for me as a first-term congressman. And he asked me what I learned from the government shutdown, and I said, you know what I learned? I learned that we've got to fight smarter. We've got to understand that we're running up a hill, and we're running up a hill because we're not only running against Democrats and the Washington establishment, we're running against a news media that supports bigger government when we support smaller government, that's going to frame any cut as something mean-spirited and hateful. And I said the next time, I said this in 96 to Rush, the next time we fight this battle, we just have to be smarter strategically, and we've got to understand the battlefield that we're fighting on, and we Republicans forget that too often.
Well, you do admit that the media is biased towards Republicans, and it's not only. And I've
been saying it for 20 years.
All right, I've often said it doesn't matter who we run the next time. If they don't fight back, if they don't act a little like Newt Gingrich and calling out dumb questions and laughing at the dumb questions and fighting back against the media, it doesn't matter.
Okay, but we can't be angry about it, okay? We've lost 5 out of the last 6 presidential elections. We have got to do what Ronald Reagan always did.
Wait a minute, we lost 5 out of the last 6. Wait.
We lost the popular vote in 5 out of the last 6 elections.
And the Democrats didn't win a majority until Obama. I mean, from Jimmy Carter through Obama. They never won more than 50% even when Clinton won.
Well, okay, we can deconstruct this all we want. The fact of the matter is Hillary Clinton's running in 2016. If Hillary Clinton wins in 16 and 20, then they're going to control the Supreme Court for the next generation. I'm just talking about a way to connect again with the voters that we've been losing. I'm not talking about changing ideologically. Like I was about to say, what we've got to do when faced with the preposterousness of all of the biases against us, we've got to laugh. We've got to point it out with a smile. You know, there was somebody that said after Chris Christie won, if Chris Christie wants to prove he's a conservative, he needs to go out today and call President Obama a liar.
All right.
To which I said, Ronald Reagan never called Jimmy Carter a liar. The only thing he ever said was when Carter said he liked taking cold showers in the morning was, a man who will lie about liking a cold shower will lie about anything.
All right, we're talking to Joe Scarborough on the Steve Malzberg Show. Brent Bozell, the president and founder of the Media Research Center, wrote a scathing column about you today. Bozell said Joe Scarborough doesn't care about Republican victory. He talked about you on the tour with Barbara Walters and The View and CBS This Morning and Charlie Rose lecturing Republicans, speaking about moderation. Do you agree with that? And don't you alienate the base? Isn't the base going to stay home, Joe? If you bend over and try to please the so-called moderates or independents, what about the base?
Well, Steve, I mean, aren't you listening to me? I've been saying it for 20 years. I wrote it through this book. Republicans win when they pick nominees who are conservative, not moderates. You know, Brent Bozell was very angry at me because I said critical things about Mitt Romney. He was and he wrote about that. He picked all the times that I criticized Mitt Romney's inept campaign. It was an inept campaign. And Romney was a guy who was pro-choice one year, pro-life the next year, pro-choice the next year, pro-immigrant. I mean, the guy was a flip-flopper. And so Bozell was very angry when I pointed these things out.
So he's taking this out on you, you think? Or he's
just like he defended John McCain. He was very angry when I was critical of John McCain. And this all started when I started criticizing George. And you'll remember, I criticized George W. Bush in 2004 for his big spending republicanism. And let's face it, there are a lot of people in Washington, D.C., that love establishment Republicans, that make a lot of money churning up controversy, and basically
one of them?
Yeah, you go through and you look at all of his criticisms of me. He never criticizes me on ideology. It's always because I'm attacking an establishment Republican in D.C. Listen, he can't say that. He can't say that I ever say anything about Chris Christie or John Kasich or Scott Walker because I praise those guys because they're doing the right thing. They are fighting for small government principles in a way that's winning in blue states. That's what we got to do if we're going to take back the White House, the Senate, and the country. 2 minutes left, less than 2 minutes. I want to ask you a question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Martin Bashir said the most horrific thing I've ever heard anyone on the air say ever. Yeah. That Sarah Palin someone should defecate and urinate in her mouth. He apologized, but as far as I know, nothing happened. There's been no statement from MSNBC. He wasn't suspended. He wasn't fired. Nothing. How is that possible? Well, I will just say this. There are people, as you know, at Fox News that don't like other people at Fox News. And, Steve, you know that.
All right, fair enough.
Let me finish what I'm going to say. But in this, I will tell you this. Every time something horrific is said like that, I go in and I talk to Phil Griffin, who I'm good friends with, and I say, Phil, this is unacceptable. Either they apologize for it or I'm going to take it up myself. And I can tell you that didn't happen in this case because I was in the middle of a book tour, and I didn't really even hear about it until after Bashir's apology. But I agree with Martin Bashir's apology. It was a deplorable thing to say, and he has every reason to be ashamed for saying it. And I'm glad that he went out and said it.
Meet John and Nancy. They've spent their lives working hard and saving money, knowing that it would pay off in the end. But unfortunately, all that hard work and smart investing has gotten them nowhere. Then one day, John and Nancy picked up a free copy of Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns. This book revealed 24 little-known investments that put them back on track to a happy and secure retirement. Get your free copy of Powerful Secrets at myfinancialage.org.
Have you hit a brick wall with your weight loss? Does your weight management plan need an extra edge for success? If so, listen up. Metabio is the revolutionary weight loss breakthrough designed to help you reach your goal weight as part of your diet and exercise program. Metabio is the premium nutritional supplement power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. When used as part of a healthy lifestyle, each component is formulated to help you reach your goals and maintain your optimal weight and wellness. It supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. Now, learn how you can try a 30-day supply of Metabio. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/special. Act now and also receive instant access to our downloadable special report, a practical guide to healthy weight management. Try it now at themetabio.com/special. That's the metabio.com/special. While supplies last. themetabio.com/special.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
A hot new book by Craig Smith argues that the greenback is now at high risk thanks to our spendthrift politicians. Mark Twain said the truth is stranger than fiction. The same is true of the Great Debasement, which began a century ago with the creation of the Federal Reserve and income tax. The result, today's dollar retains just 2 cents of its original buying power. Yes, progressive politicians have engineered the largest wealth confiscation in history, creating in essence a fourth branch of government. Learn what must be done to preserve your money if the dollar crashes. The good news is Swiss America is offering the Great Debasement, a $20 value free of charge for this special radio offer.
800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. Call Swiss America now for a free DVD. 800-818-3967.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
And welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. And joining us right now is the president of the Americans for Tax Reform, the one and only Grover Norquist. Hey, Grover.
Absolutely. Good to be with you.
Good to talk to you again. Okay, so before we get to the debacle that, I don't know, keeps on failing or keeps on giving, however you want to look at it, Paul Ryan made some remarks today, the House Budget Committee chairman, said that, actually yesterday, the country doesn't need to worry about another government shutdown. He said that there will be no budget cuts and, there's not going to be any pushback from the Republicans and they're going to keep levels of where they are. And, I mean, is this something you go along with?
Well, listen carefully to what he just said. Here's what happens if nothing happens, okay? That is that government spending falls to next year's lower sequestration numbers. The sequester is a cap on spending for 1 decade, for 10 years. The Democrats have wanted ever since I started to say Clinton, ever since Obama thought up the sequester, he believed that we would balk at the spending restraint in the Pentagon and would come back and say, please, please raise taxes so we can spend more money on everything, including the Pentagon. That is exactly what did not happen. So the president has spent the last 2 years trying to undo what he thought was a dirty trick on Republicans. I will agree to phony spending cuts, but the Republicans will come and give me tax increases, and the phony spending cuts will disappear. Spending cuts aren't phony. They're real. They're happening. And so what is being put forward by Paul Ryan is, you know what, we'll just live with the spending caps. We're happy. If you want to come and talk to us about some trade or deal, you do that. So sounding as nice as he could be, he just put a shiv up their ribs.
Okay, so
I'm with him. I think he said it very nicely.
Yeah, so there's a method to his madness, in other words, and he's saying it in a non-confrontational way, a non-gloating way, if you will. Now we have to wait and see if the Democrats go along with that or they demand something.
They're going to. I think that they've been demanding. They want higher taxes. They want more spending. They want an end to the sequester. But they're in an odd position because when you have two evenly matched teams, House can say no to anything that the Senate wants. Senate can say no to anything the House wants. The person who needs something loses that argument. They need something. The Democrats and the president need something. They need more spending. We don't.
And Grover, and Grover, that brings us back to health care in a way, because I guess the accepted line of thinking is that the Democrats are looking for a new boogeyman, if you will. They need an enemy. They need someone or something to blame and to say, oh, look, the evil Republicans, and get the focus off of the Affordable Care Act. So they're going to cause a confrontation. And, of course, knowing full well the media, like the first time, even though you had a president who said no to negotiations, who refused to fund kids with cancer in the National Institute of Health, et cetera.
Yes.
So they're gonna force a confrontation with the Republicans and count on the media to champion their cause. Do you see that happening?
I think that they'll try that. I think they will fail at it. They planned to do that once they thought that they'd done okay out of the shutdown. They'd go back and say to us, you saw how much it hurt you when you had the shutdown, cost you your governorship in Virginia. If you don't give us what we want, there'll be a second shutdown, and you will really be bleeding from all pores. I don't think the president can do that because he has governed so poorly. His numbers are so bad, his approval numbers, the approval of his health care legislation is so poor in terms of levels of support that he can't demand Bush or bully, and the Republicans, who are a little bit burned about the government shutdown, as it is. And again, we're not asking for anything. We're just asking for the settled law of the land to be observed. That's the sequester. Now, the president's going to need some relief because his health care bill is so poorly written that it keeps having problems. It's going to raise costs for most people, very damaging to young people, very damaging to college students. 5 million people or so have lost or are losing their health care. Tens of thousands are getting government-approved health care. It's an awful lot of people stuck between the two shores with no paddle. The president wants this fixed on his terms. He wants the government to get bigger, more powerful, to expand Medicaid and his programs. For that, the Republicans will say no. They're going to say, let's fix the problem the American people have. We're not trying to save your program. We're trying to save the American people. And that's the fight between Obama, who wants to change the law to save his system and the bureaucracy, and the Republicans want to change the law to save the American people's health care.
We're talking to Grover Norquist here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So the Republicans, I would assume you would agree, are in a pretty good position going into 2014.
They are. Not only are the House seats looking good because of redistricting and strong candidates, Republicans should pick up seats that allow you saw 39 very frightened Democratic congressmen vote with the Republicans, slap in the face to Obama. Obama said, I'll do this all by executive order. They said, we want the world to see we are not with you on this one. 39 people, Democrats, voted that way. And now you look in the Senate, and there are 7 Democrats stuck in running for office for the Senate in very Republican states, likely to lose those 7 seats. And then there are other seats in addition to that, Michigan, Iowa, New Hampshire, where there's a good shot a Republican could take a Democratic seat now. The only seat you worry about is Georgia if we don't nominate the strongest candidate, because Democrats are putting forward serious candidates and serious money. But otherwise, there are no seriously challenged Republicans around the country. So the Republicans will hold the House and have a very high likelihood of winning the Senate in 2014.
All right, let's talk about the strategy on health care. I keep asking people, when are the Republicans going to pass something in the House? Of course, they can't do it in the Senate. Just pass something. What I say, and I think I'm out of touch, but I keep saying, just pick the 5 things that the Democrats always tout. Paul Begala comes on, and every time he's on CNN, he talks about, my father doesn't have the donut hole, and my kids, they're on my policy until they're 26, and and I had a pre-existing condition, and it doesn't matter anymore. So he always relates it to his whole family, how the 5 key aspects that they keep talking about. So I said why don't they just pass a one-pager with those 5 or 6 things and say, okay, we're going to keep the things that people like, but the other 1,800 pages are going away. Tom DeLay told me yesterday that they shouldn't pass anything because any federal intrusion into the insurance of health care is unconstitutional. Where do you fall?
Okay. If we were starting from scratch, would you want any federal regulation of insurance?
No.
But for the last 50 years, we've had 50 state insurance commissions that regulate the heck out of it and don't allow you to buy insurance across state lines. That's not how we deal with life insurance. It's not how we deal with car insurance. Why in the world do we do it with health insurance? So the government's been messing this up for a long time, state and federal, and it's going to take both state and federal undoing the present mess to get this turned around. So I'm not sure that informs us how to get from here to there. We did see just a couple days ago the Republicans vote, with 39 Democrats voting with them, on the Upton bill to say this is the legislation that says that the Obama promised that if you liked your health insurance, you could keep it. Then he passed regulations which ordered a lot of insurance companies to cancel your health insurance. Why? Because it's illegal in this country to sell health insurance that doesn't do X, Y, and Z. Even if you don't want to buy X, Y, and Z, they put a mandate in. This is what was wrong for so many years at the state level. The particularly corrupt states had many mandates. New Jersey requires like 48 different things that you have to buy as part of your insurance, like hair transplants, even if you don't want that, or drug stuff, even if you don't want it. Drug rehabilitation, you've got to pay for it for other people. So we need to move on Upton's legislation, which is passed now in the House, need to vote in the Senate, which simply says, reminding everyone the president fibbed, told you something that was not true when he said you could keep your insurance. And we now know from the internal documents and comments from the people who were there, all the Democrats knew it wasn't true. And Obama's and his campaign people sat around and said, this is a very helpful lie. It polls very well. Should we keep using it knowing it's a lie? And they said, yes. The political people beat out the policy people and said, yes, keep saying it even though it's not true. And Democrat congressmen and senators knew it wasn't true, and they were out there saying it, dozens of them. So this is, I think you're right. The Republicans should rifle shot pass through the House as many reforms. It doesn't have to be, quote unquote, comprehensive, solving all the world's problems in one bill. That's how we got into this mess, trying to, guess what? They did a messy job of it. So let's go in and fix these things one at a time. Why not legalize? This is one of the things I think the Republicans may well do in the next few weeks. Just pass a law that says you can buy insurance from any state you want.
Absolutely.
Your own state.
That's the most important. That and malpractice, tort reform, the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Put all the trailers in a plastic bag and float them down the river.
One more. Boehner, of course, said no immigration, comprehensive immigration reform. They'll never even look at the Senate bill. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it piecemeal. How much do you think they will do, in not this year, but probably next year by now, piecemeal?
Sure. I think this is a very helpful statement by Boehner, because some Republicans feared that if they pass two or three good, as we're talking about on health care, rifle-shot pieces of legislation that do this, this, and this, that somehow the Senate would be able to reach over and grab it, conference with it, and make the Republicans in the House eat it. That was not a real rational fear, but it was something that people worried about. I mean, it's never going to happen. And what Boehner said was, let me make this very clear for the 17th time. That is not going to happen. So what are we going to do? He's got 5 bills that Goodlatte has put together through his Judiciary Committee. They actually wrote them down seriously, as opposed to the Senate bill, which was thrown together, pieces of it, in the last 2 hours of the whole thing, particularly the bits on border security, in order to have something that everybody in the Senate could pretend to agree to.
Right.
What we do have now is a very good, much improved bill that McCaw of Texas put together on border security. Great improvement over what we have today. And it doesn't cost $1 jillion, okay? They're not going to put 50,000 people on the border. They're doing a lot of high-tech stuff.
No, Grover, I have to stop because we're running up against a hard break, but that's a great place to start. And hopefully if they do pass it, because they've passed that before, something will actually get done, like that wall that never got built. But anyway, pleasure to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.
You got it. Take care.
Take care. Grover Norquist, ladies and gentlemen, president of Americans for Tax Reform. When we come back, the history of football, how football was almost outlawed, and what saved the game of football. It's something very basic, something we take for granted now, but did not exist decades ago in the game of football, when it was this close to getting knocked out of the whole sports arena. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
Meet John and Nancy. Like many people, John and Nancy have spent their whole lives working hard, saving their money and investing wisely, knowing that it would pay off in the end. But the reality is, today's world is not the same as it was. John and Nancy's stocks have taken them on a serious roller coaster ride, and it's all but destroyed their retirement funds. Their house is not even close to being worth what they paid, and to boot, their middle-class paychecks. In fact, they are no longer thinking about when they will retire, they're wondering if they'll retire. Then one day, John and Nancy heard about a man named Tom Hutchison, a veteran of Wall Street for over 2 decades. Tom noticed that the wealthy invested differently than normal people, and their methods seemed to be a secret they didn't want to share. So Tom left his job, compiled the strategies, and published them in the controversial book, Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns. John and Nancy immediately picked up a copy, began investing, and never looked back. Thanks to Powerful Secrets, John and Nancy now have investments that pay up to 20% a year. They learned about unique tax-advantaged investments, and their favorite chapter revealed a strategy that anyone can use to turn $50,000 into $1 million. Now, John and Nancy have control of their financial future in this new reality, and they have peace of mind about their investments that they never had before. Best of all, they are back on track to a secure retirement. To get your free copy of the book, Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns, simply visit www.myfinancialage.org. Men, this is the time in your life when you have more freedom to travel, more time for leisure, including an active lifestyle, even a renewed intimacy. The last thing you want is the hassle of an aging prostate. Frequent trips to the bathroom also keep you awake at night. But here's good news. Renowned physician Dr. David Brownstein believes that prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Prostate Revive, the dietary supplement specifically formulated to help improve and sustain normal prostate function. Learn more about how you can receive a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit prostaterevive.com/special for complete details. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate, while supplies last. Try Prostate Revive for 30 days at prostaterevive.com/special. That's prostaterevive.com/special.
When you were younger, you probably never considered your heart health. But cardiologist Dr. Chauncey Crandall knows from experience that taking steps to care for your heart becomes more crucial as the decades pass, if you want to keep this vital organ ticking smoothly for years to come. That's why Dr. Crandall recently developed Cardio Advanced, a nutritional supplement containing 12 special ingredients, all selected to help improve and maintain your heart health and normal cholesterol levels. The flagship of this exclusive formula, esterified plant sterols, may help lower your risk of heart disease when taken as part of a diet low in cholesterol and fat. And great news! Now, you have the opportunity to try a 30-day supply of Cardio Advanced. Simply cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act right now, you'll also receive a free doctor's guide to a healthy heart as a special bonus. Please visit cardioadvanced.com/radio for complete details on claiming your 30-day bottle of Cardio Advanced and free report. That's cardioadvanced.com/radio. Life is too precious to ignore your heart health. Visit cardioadvanced.com/radio now while supplies last.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45, non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50, non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309.
myfinancialage.org.
the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll-free at 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
You've got to.
Americans are great innovators. We have a great history of invention. And the forward pass fits nicely into that tradition.
If it wasn't for the forward pass, football would be such a different game. I can't even relate to how I would feel about it.
Where's Ricky Sanders?
Other countries don't do this. We Americans, we're all about freedom and liberty.
Now throws it deep downfield. Tyree makes the catch.
And nobody can throw it like an American.
Oh, boy, that is some movie, and it airs today. You got to see it. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us now is Neil Zender, supervising producer and director for NFL Films, and we're talking about football life, the forward pass. Hello, Neil. How are you?
Hi, Steve. Great to be with you.
Great to be with you. You know, Steve Sable was a frequent guest on a show that I did over at WABC. I produced it and did my own version of it with Art Rush Jr. and wonderful man, and just always great to talk to him. And I know he'd be very proud of this movie. You know, I saw you on somewhere, and I said, book him. I got to get Neil on because this is so profound. People don't realize that so many years ago, football was on its way out as a sport because people were getting killed playing it, and it was a president of the United States who saved it, and it was the forward pass that was instrumental. The whole thing to me is amazing.
That's right, Steve. 1905 was a very important year for football. That year, 18 people died playing football, and a whole movement sprung up to ban the game. And colleges across the country were shutting down their football programs. It was a big part of the progressive movement. The progressives did a lot of good things for America, you know, getting rid of child labor and stuff like that. But they also had some ideas that were kind of wacky, like abolishing alcohol and abolishing football. And when Teddy Roosevelt heard about this, he went nuts because he thought football was so important for America to develop the character of young boys, and he did everything he could and used all the powers of the presidency at his disposal to save the game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was that I had no idea about that. So when I heard that, I mean, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And then, of course, football back then was basically running. I mean, you ran, you needed 5 yards for a first down, so you just gave someone the ball. They ran straight up the middle, and you know, the equipment was lacking compared to today, of course, and people got hurt, really hurt. As you mentioned, so many got killed in that one year. And then came the forward pass and the revolution of the game, 10 yards, first down, the whole thing. Tell us how that happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, the big thesis of our documentary is America as a country of inventions. You know, from the cotton gin and the light bulb and the Wright brothers to the iPod, and we should recognize that the forward pass is one of those great inventions for our country. For centuries, everybody else around the world played rugby, and only America dreamed up the idea that, wait a minute, you don't just have to run the ball or kick the ball, you can throw it. And the forward pass didn't just make football safer and cut down on these horrific injuries. The forward pass made it more fun. I mean, the type of innovative offensive thinking before the forward pass at the turn of the century, the best way to gain yardage and to gain territory was to give the ball to the other team. It was the quick kick, and that's what most teams did. The 1902 Rose Bowl, Michigan won the game 49-0. It was a stunning offensive performance. They punted 21 times. There's a coach at Princeton named Bill Roper, who was considered a remarkable offensive innovator because he came up with this idea: when a defensive player recovers a fumble, he's going to break with tradition and try to return it instead of just falling. And that was the best way to gain yardage, because all it was just dive up the middle, dive up the middle, dive up the middle.
Now was the pass was the pass prohibited, or just wasn't ever thought of?
Nobody really thought of it because everybody said, let's just play this game rugby like the way old Europe and the rest of the world plays it. And there were some radical people that said, well, why don't we allow people to throw it? Why don't we try this? And the people who ran football wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. And then when football just got in this horrible PR trouble with all these players dying, Teddy Roosevelt loved football and wanted to save it. He said, well, you got to do something radical. that will get the public's attention. And the most radical thing out there was this forward pass. So he kept pushing for it and pushing for it. He wrote letters to Walter Camp, who basically ran football.
That's amazing.
And Walter Camp wanted nothing to do with it. So one of the things that TR did, it's in a great book by John Miller, The Big Scrum, How Teddy Roosevelt Saved Football.
Yep.
One of the things he discovered was that Teddy Roosevelt sort of used politics, the guy who did all of Walter Camp's dirty work and was officially the chairman of the Rules Committee, even though Camp ran it. Now, Daschle was a professor at the Naval Academy. He's Camp's guy. He's adamantly opposed to the forward pass, but he wants a promotion. In those days, if you wanted to get a promotion at the Naval Academy, you needed the President of the United States to sign off on it. So Roosevelt basically writes back to him and says, "Gall, I'd really love to give you a promotion. But in a completely unrelated matter, it sure would be neat if you pushed for reform on the Rules Committee, and it'd be great if you pushed for this forward pass thing."
That is amazing.
And then he flipped Daschle and sort of took the committee out from underneath Walter Camp.
Neil, I know this aired yesterday for the first time. Tell us where and when it's airing today.
There's an encore today, actually right at 4 o'clock on NFL Network. You can watch it there.
Okay, and I'm sure it'll be available online at NFL Films, and eventually you'll be able to get it. I really appreciate you coming on. Neil Zender, supervising producer and director for NFL Films. Thank you. Great to talk to you.
All right, thanks for having me.
Take care. My pleasure. All right, folks, in the next hour, Alan West will join us. Then Charles Hurt will join us. We'll also speak to General Paul Vallely at the top of the next hour. All that straight ahead. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
Meet John and Nancy. They've spent their lives working hard and saving money, knowing that it would pay off in the end. But unfortunately, all that hard work and smart investing has gotten them nowhere. Then one day, John and Nancy picked up a free copy of Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns. This book revealed 24 little-known investments that put them back on track to a happy and secure retirement. Get your free copy of Powerful Secrets at myfinancialage.org.
Larry works on the construction site when he's not held up with constipation. Mary sits all day at a desk, which does little to relieve gas and bloating. You can't schedule abdominal discomfort, but you can help alleviate it with Back-to-Pro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Back-to-Pro is the fiber probiotic supplement that comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. It includes the most essential ingredients necessary to help support your healthy digestive and immune function. Experience the results. Learn how you can receive a 30-day supply of Back-to-Pro. Just visit backtopro.com/offer. All you cover is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Do something about your digestive health now. Get your 30-day supply at backtopro.com/offer. That's BACTIPRO.com/offer. Limited time only. Backtopro.com/offer.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to him. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. Sexual assaults in the military continue to rise at an alarming rate, up 46% in the last year alone, a recent Pentagon report shows. Well, today the Senate votes on an amendment sponsored by New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand that would dramatically change how the military handles sex assault cases. 50 senators have signed on to support the Gillibrand amendment, which would strip military commanders of their ability to prosecute sex crimes. Sarah Plummer, a victim of sexual assault in the military, says this is something that she wants.
Leaving these cases within the chain of command exacerbates the process of repeat victimization.
However, passage of the amendment is far from guaranteed. A bipartisan group of senators, led by Missouri Democrat Claire McCaskill, oppose the Gillibrand plan. They've presented their own amendment, which would keep the decision to prosecute in the hands of military commanders. In Virginia, State Senator Craig Deeds remains in fair condition with stab wounds to his head and chest after an altercation yesterday inside his rural Virginia home. Police say the 55-year-old Democrat who unsuccessfully ran for governor 4 years ago was stabbed by his son.
Based on the evidence we have right now, we are looking into this as an attempted murder and suicide.
Deed's son, who went by the name of Gus, was found inside the family home dead of a gunshot wound. The 24-year-old had apparently battled psychiatric problems, and on Monday a magistrate issued an emergency custody order for Gus after he was evaluated by doctors. A lot of folks say this highlights the fact that there is a real issue within our mental health system. And Florida Representative Trey Riddell pleaded guilty Wednesday to cocaine possession. The Florida Republican was sentenced to 1 year probation for misdemeanor possession. Riddell has apologized to his constituents, saying that he struggles with alcoholism and intends to seek treatment and counseling. The 37-year-old bought cocaine from an undercover federal agent in a buy-bust operation back on October 29th. Riddell said in a statement that he made an extremely irresponsible choice. He is the first sitting member of Congress charged with a drug offense since former Representative Frederick Richmond, a Democrat from New York, was convicted back in 1982. And at least 2 people are dead as rescue crews continue to search for possible survivors of a plane crash miles off the Florida coast. The pilot in the crash reported engine failure and to air traffic controllers, declaring a mayday before attempting to return to the Fort Lauderdale-Hollywood International Airport. A spokesman for the airport said a medical flight was returning to Cozumel, Mexico after dropping off a patient here in Florida. Authorities are still searching for the other 2 people who were on board and are still missing. And coming up next on your Newsmax Now update, an exclusive interview with Congressman Cory Gardner of Colorado. Plus, folks in Florida get to see this all the time, but not in places like New York or Philadelphia. Why they had a spectacular view of this rocket launch. Next.
I used to sleep like a baby. Now I have to get up in the middle of the night just to go to the bathroom. And not just once.
Men, if you suffer from frequent urination, the inability to empty your bladder, a hesitant urine stream, or leaking due to an aging prostate, listen to this. Renowned physician Dr. David Brownstein believes this does not need to be an inevitable part of aging. After extensive research, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Prostate Revive, the dietary supplement specifically formulated to help improve and sustain normal prostate function. And now you can receive a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. For complete details, visit prostaterevive.com/offer. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Learn how you can try Prostate Revive for 30 days at prostaterevive.com/offer. Hurry, limited time offer. That's prostaterevive.com/offer.
Do you suffer from joint discomfort? Contrary to what the experts may say, achy joints do not have to be a normal part of aging. Holistic doctor David Brownstein challenged conventional thinking to focus on natural solutions for joint health. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Limbex, the premium nutritional supplement specifically formulated to support healthy joints and connective tissue. It's a new joint breakthrough formula containing 11 hand-picked nutrients. Learn more at limbexjoint.com/special and take the 30-day Healthy Joint Challenge. That's a 30-day supply of the Limbex Joint Supplement. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Happy, Healthy Joints at Any Age. You can do something about joint discomfort and flexibility. Learn how you can try it for 30 days at limbexjoint.com/special. That's LIMBEX joint.com/special. limbexjoint.com/special.
Welcome back. Folks in Florida get to see it a lot. People in New York, well, not so much, but they did last night. Millions of Americans up and down the East Coast got a stellar view of this rocket launch. The Minotaur rocket blasted off from Wallops Island, Virginia at about 8:15 last night. Its red glare was easily visible from Manhattan and even southern Canada. And during an exclusive interview with Newsmax TV, Colorado Representative Cory Gardner shares what he thinks was the most disturbing thing that came out of a recently released document about Obamacare and healthcare.gov. Gardner serves on the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Yesterday they had a hearing and they learned that HHS Secretary Kathleen Sebelius knew there were security concerns with the Obamacare website, but pressed ahead with its rollout anyway.
I think clearly the urgency of meeting their October 1st deadline in their mind outweighed the urgency of making sure that the American public's personal identification information is safe and secure.
For more exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax TV and Newsmax.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling toll-free 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, hour number 2 of the Big Steve Malzberg Show. Alan West will join us, former congressman and U.S. Army Colonel, will join us at the bottom of the hour. We're moments away from General Paul Vallely, retired general, and also chairman of Stand Up America. He will be joining us momentarily as soon as I get that thumbs up. And I know he can hear me, so let me just tell you about a story that's breaking on ABC News. That this nation believes that there are several dozen suspected terrorists and bomb makers, including some who have targeted American troops in the past, who have come into this country, who have been allowed into this country as refugees under a war status from Iraq, that are now in this country. Terrorists, bomb makers, you name them, just biding their time and waiting for the right time to, God forbid, strike. So this is something that is a huge reason for concern. Do we have the general? All right, well, forget that because time's ticking away. So if we got him, let me say hello to General Paul Vallely. Hello, sir.
Hello, Steve. How are you?
I am good. I see you made it back from Restoration Weekend along with the rest of us.
Well, I did, and it was a great 3 days down there, very informative, and I'm glad you could make it down.
Well, listen, I had the pleasure of finally meeting you in person and your lovely wife, who I sat next to at the table with you during the dinner, keynoted by Dr. Ben Carson. It's just it was a pleasure meeting both of you, and give her my regards. But I just started with the story. I hope you heard it about the fact that we may have let dozens of terrorists from Iraq into this country under the premise of immigration with war coming from a war-torn country. This is no surprise, though, the way we have these lax immigration rules.
Well, there's no doubt about it. And, of course, I think you can remember the number of Afghan Air Force trainees we had in Texas several years ago that then vacated out of that base in Texas and went elsewhere, and I'm not sure we ever policed the rest of them up. So our lax policies and dealing now with some of these Middle East countries, we've got to be very careful of who we allow in or bring in. And of course, that takes a very strict and enforcement of the laws and the codes that we have now of allowing people into this country.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And immigration's a whole nother story. Let me ask you a question, and this is something that you have talked about. It's something that you have championed. And before we get to a column that you recently wrote, you've been outspoken about the need to expand health care for our military heroes when they come home. Why is it that veterans have to live mostly in big metropolitan areas to get the care they need from places like Walter Reed? And why is it so very important for this kind of treatment to be available in their local communities?
Well, when they laid out the Veterans Administration hospitals way back, they were primarily located in Washington, D.C. I remember the facility in Denver, Long Beach, Seattle. And so after that, some ancillary or accessory type of facilities were opened. I can even remember one in Napa Valley, which was for retired veterans. But for the most part, Steve, if you go out into middle America or out of those large urban areas, you don't have the facilities. So these veterans have to commute to places like, as I use an example, from Montana to Salt Lake City. And that cost, $500 or $600 a ticket to fly them over there when we have perfectly good hospitals here. So our recommendation is the Veteran Administration and to the government and Congress, let's issue them a card, a medical card, where these veterans can use it anywhere because it ends up saving the government money and they get the treatment they need.
Yeah, and imagine anybody who has an illness or is disabled to one extent or another, especially severely. Imagine if you had to go to the doctor even for your cold, and you had to get on a plane or a train and travel hundreds of miles when there are facilities around you, but for whatever reason, the government said you can't use that, and you have to go here or there. I mean, that's just a horrific way to treat these people.
Well, it is, and I go back to a conversation I had in West Palm Beach at the conference down there with somebody that there seems to be a lack of common sense throughout our government in dealing with the problems and issues. And if we'd use more common sense and deal rationally with what should be done, what can be eliminated, these unnecessary rules and regulations that guide not only the Pentagon, but the Veterans Administration. So, it's like a whole redo, Steve, that we need. Our entire government needs to be cleansed. We need to deregulate a lot of things that we have in government that are restricting us so much as free people.
Well, that brings me to your piece, and we're talking, of course, to Major General Paul Vallely, chairman of Stand Up America, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. You wrote a piece, A National Call to Action. The fate of our country is now in our hands. It's time for a change of government and leadership to save the republic. Talk about what motivated you to write that and what you're asking for.
Well, I think we've all been searching for solutions because of the lack of leadership, not only in Congress and the White House, but it seems, Steve, that nothing happens positive anymore for our government. They can't seem to do anything right, and that goes back to leadership. It goes back to inept people within our government, such a tangled bureaucracy, government, way too big, way too complicated. So we're asking a new leadership team be put into the government. We're asking that Obama and Biden resign. We're asking that Harry Reid, John Boehner, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi resign out of their positions. Let's get some new leaders moved up here that we can do under the Constitution and get people working for this government again that are effective. We've got to do something. We know impeachment won't work because of the partisan politics. We saw what happened with Clinton. So unless we can find under the Constitution ways to remove this particular government we have in the White House, then we're left the alternative of what we call demand resignations, like what happened to Nixon.
How do you feel about the Presidential Medal of Freedom awarded to 16 people today, going to, among others, Bill Clinton? I mean, look, I know he's changed. I know people change and things get forgiven. But if you're going to get the Presidential Medal of Freedom, to me, if you've been disbarred and perjured yourself and have been impeached, I just don't see how you even have the nerve to accept it, let alone get be awarded it.
Well, it seems to be more pandering. It's like the Nobel Peace Prize anymore. It doesn't really mean anything. And so when the president honors certain people, you can see it's pandering, like to
Oprah Winfrey,
and others. It just doesn't make sense to me. We have so many heroes and people of valor within their different disciplines throughout this country that should be recognized. And certainly Clinton and Oprah Winfrey have been recognized enough. They don't need any more recognition.
All right. Listen, General, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. We'll hopefully see you soon.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Take care. General Paul E. Vallely, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. When we come back, I got an email from a friend yesterday, 2 emails. One said, hey, Piers Morgan just played part of your interview with Ann Coulter where she defended Alec Baldwin, in effect, on CNN, and it said Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV. I said, great. And then I get another email, hey, Al Sharpton used your Ted Cruz interview and blasted Cruz for talking about impeachment and abuse of power. And I said, this I got to see. So we have it for you. Not only will you get to see and hear it, I'll get to see and hear it again because I liked it so much the first time. I'm going to get to see it again the second time. So we'll come back. We'll let you hear that, see that. Right here, of course, on the Steve Malzberg Show. Alan West will be after that. Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV and radio.
Constipation, gas, bloating, most people suffer through. But now there's a simple solution for occasional digestive problems called Bactipro, developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein. Of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. Bactipro contains 6 powerful strains of beneficial probiotic bacteria, dietary fiber, and bacteria-nourishing prebiotics, plus powerful antioxidants. Now you can receive a 30-day supply of Bactipro. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit Bactipro.com/special. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Improve your digestive health now. Learn how you can receive your 30-day supply at Bactipro.com/special. That's BACTIPRO.com/special. Bactipro.com/special.
A hot new book by Craig Smith argues that the greenback is now at high risk thanks to our spendthrift politicians. Mark Twain said, "The truth is stranger than fiction." The same is true of the Great Debasement, which began a century ago with the creation of the Federal Reserve and income tax. The result, today's dollar retains just 2 cents of its original buying power. Yes, progressive politicians have engineered the largest wealth confiscation in history, creating in essence a fourth branch of government. Learn what must be done to preserve your money if the dollar crashes. The good news is Swiss America is offering the Great Debasement, a $20 value free of charge for this special radio offer.
800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. Call Swiss America now for a free DVD. 800-818-3967.
We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night, but eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting, and the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
FinancialAge.org.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, welcome back. Alan West on deck, swinging the bat. He's got the donut on the bat. No, not a powdered donut, Bethany. Not a powdered donut. It's a donut. It's a weight, and it goes on the bat and makes it heavier. Used to be they'd swing 2 or 3 bats in the on-deck circle. Now, and you could tell how strong the guy was by how many bats he had swinging around. Now it's just a donut. Anyway, Al Sharpton on his MSNBC show decided he was going to take me to task, mostly Ted Cruz to task, and the Tea Partiers to task. And I can't even wait to let you hear this so I could analyze it with you, as I love to do. Let's go to Cut 30. This is Al Sharpton from his fine MSNBC show, A Day Ago.
We have never seen a president behave like President Obama, who believes he can just pick and choose. He'll enforce this law, not enforce another law. I mean, that is
impeachable,
deeply dangerous. You know, that's a question for the House, ultimately.
Impeachment is a question for the House. Way to dodge the question. Here's the follow-up.
Would you urge them to consider it?
You know, any impeachment would have to be tried in the United States Senate. So since my responsibility would be to render judgment, I would not want to urge the House to do anything other than exercise its best judgment, and then I would endeavor to do the same.
We're supposed to trust the good judgment of Ted Cruz and the House Republicans. I don't think so.
Well, Al, first of all, impeachment is a matter for the House. I don't know if you know the Constitution. I don't know if you know how it works. You might not have to hearken too far back to Bill Clinton. He was impeached, much to the chagrin of many. The Senate said no. He wasn't convicted and thrown out. He was impeached. Only the House can impeach. The Senate has nothing to do with it. So when he says it's up to the House, and you come on and say, it's up to the House? Yeah, it is. It's up to the House. I mean, if you want to say he's avoiding the question because you think he's avoiding the question, but to criticize him or take him to task for saying it's up to the House, it is up to the House. And you don't want to agree that he has good judgment? That's your prerogative. Oh, but it gets better. So much better. Let's go to cut number 31.
Ted Cruz has flirted with these fringe elements all the way through. And the fact that he cannot rule out what would be an egregious overreach by the United States Congress is exactly why his Republican colleagues dislike what he's doing so much. It's not thought through. It's just pandering to the fringe elements of the Republican Party. Maybe he thinks that's going to fuel some part of a Tea Party-driven candidacy for president, but he's not going to get much support in terms of the broader party. And if he wants to break out of Iowa on his, path to the nomination, then he's going to find that very, very hard indeed. So I do think he is encouraging, inflaming, and yes, flirting with those elements of the Republican Party that are very ugly and, let's face it, also racist.
There you go. That's why I played Richard Wolff, who sat here not too long ago plugging his new book, was in studio. Of course, the Tea Party elements who are racist. Any evidence at all? Any racism? The only racism at a Tea Party rally years ago came when a black tea protesting against the Tea Party in St. Louis. There is no evidence of racism. I don't have to defend it. It's like someone might be saying some of my best friends are black. I mean, we know about the accusations, but that was thrown in for good measure, which is what they do on MSNBC usually. And racist. Oh, there's that word. Whew. As long as it's like a fix. You need the fix, aren't they? But they're racist too, right? Say it. And racist. Whew. Boy, that feels good. Okay, cut 32.
One of the most troubling aspects of the Obama administration is, aside from their radical policy, the way they've implemented it has sadly been lawless. Over and over again, this president has said, I don't care what the law is, I'm going to refuse to enforce it.
He's accusing the president of being lawless because he's implementing the health care law. I mean, Michelle, this is incredible.
Look, Ted Cruz is very much trying for the same goal as Larry Klayman and a lot of these Tea Party guys. He's not trying to shoot for good government. He's not trying to actually get anything done. He's not trying to appeal to a large chunk, even of his own party. He wants attention.
Okay, blah, 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 blah. So, lawless? They're saying Obama's lawless because he's enforcing the health care law? No, Al, this shouldn't be that difficult. Law after law. Let's focus on the health care law. When a law is passed, again, it goes back to the Constitution, the way the government's set up, Al. When Congress passes a law and the president signs it, that's the law. If the president wants to delay that law, change that law, make an exemption to that law for some people or some groups, he can't do it on his own. He's not king. You got to go back to Congress. Unless you have a signing statement, but you got to go back to Congress and say, hey, I need an exemption here. I need a postponement here. We need to change this. You can't do it on your own. You can't decide you're not going to enforce, as a matter of policy, Defense of Marriage Act, which they decided prior to the Supreme Court decision. You can't decide as a matter of dictate that you're not going to have Immigration Naturalization Service deport people who under the law are supposed to be deported. You can't decide that the work provision in welfare reform passed under Bill Clinton is not going to be enforced anymore, or to a lesser degree it'll be enforced as a matter of policy. Where does a president come off looking at laws that have been passed under him and that have been passed 20 years ago and say, oh, we're going to change that law to do this, and we're going to not enforce that law, and we're going to change that law to do this? I mean, Hugo Chavez and Fidel Castro, and I don't want to go any further than that, but they were good at that, I'm sure. You find me, Al, another president that has done that habitually. It's unconstitutional. It's against the law. Yes, lawless. Not because he's enforcing the health care law, Al, but because he's forever changing the health care law, Al, on his own. And other laws as well. And legally, constitutionally, you just can't do it. Now, I know you could fire back at me. Well, he's doing it. I know. Frightening, chilling, scary, and illegal. Put all those words together, Al. Steve Malzberg Show. Alan West is next. Don't go away.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
When you were younger, you probably never considered your heart health. But cardiologist Dr. Chauncey Crandall knows from experience that taking steps to care for your heart becomes more crucial as the decades pass, if you want to keep this vital organ ticking smoothly for years to come. That's why Dr. Crandall recently developed Cardio Advanced, a nutritional supplement containing 12 special ingredients, all selected to help improve and maintain your heart health and normal cholesterol levels. The flagship of this exclusive formula, esterified plant sterols, may help lower your risk of heart disease when taken as part of a diet low in cholesterol and fat. And great news, now you have the opportunity to try a 30-day supply of Cardio Advanced. Simply cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act right now, you'll also receive a free doctor's guide to a healthy heart as a special bonus. Please visit cardioadvanced.com/radio for complete details on claiming your 30-day bottle of Cardio Advanced and free report. That's cardioadvanced.com/radio. Life is too precious to ignore your heart health. Visit cardioadvanced.com/radio now while supplies last.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who eat mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is sardines and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
.com/special while supplies last. TheMatabio.com/special.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
The challenge has been just making sure that consumers are actually able to get on a website, see those choices, and shop. And I think that we probably underestimated the complexities of building out a website that needed to work the way it should.
Yeah, it's very hard building a website. You got to realize that. So give the guy a pass. We're joined right now as we welcome you back to the Steve Malzberg Show by our friend Colonel Alan West, former congressman, of course, from the great state of Florida. Hello, Colonel.
Steve, how are you doing? It was great seeing you Saturday night down in Florida.
I was just going to say, and I have that great, lovely picture from your wonderful wife who was gracious enough to send it to me. I'm going to post that tonight on my Facebook page and all over. So it was really nice to see you down there at the Restoration Weekend. So many great people, Paul Vallely and Ted Cruz and Ben Carson. And so it was a great event. David Horowitz did a great thing. Now, let me run a couple of things by you here. When you hear the president, as recently as yesterday, not only say that it's hard to set up a website, but also basically the new tack now is they're blaming Republicans because Republicans have never done anything to help the law along. So therefore, they're to blame for the fact that it's not working.
About a 72, 96-hour period, set up a website that could do the functions of the healthcare.gov, and it was working fine. So this is just government incompetence, but I also believe there's a little intentional nefariousness at play as well, because I think that they really want to destabilize the insurance market. But look, Steve, they've got to have someone to blame. They set up the insurance industry for blame. Now they're coming back to the same old thing as those obstructionist Republicans who never helped us along with this horrible idea in the first place, so they're to blame as well. So the president is looking for a lifeline anywhere where he can find one. But again, it comes back to one simple thing: his lack of leadership, his lack of an ability to understand anything as far as the operations of this government, by which he is the chief executive officer. And I think now we're up to about 9 or 10 times I've heard him, between speaking at the White House and speaking at that Wall Street Journal executive meeting, using the word complex or complexity or some variation thereof. He has no clue, and that's all we can say.
You want to let me play for you a bite, Will. I don't want to throw you a curve in the control room. This will be cut 4. Listen to him back in 2008 during I believe this was I don't know if this was a Democratic debate or one of the debates, but listen to how he described himself and what he said about himself. This should have been a real warning, a real red flag. Here's cut 4.
My greatest weakness, I think, is when it comes to, I'll give you a very good example. I ask my staff never to hand me paper until 2 seconds before I need it, because I will lose it. And my desk in my office doesn't look good. I've got to have somebody around me who is keeping track of that stuff. And that's not trivial. I need to have good people in place who can make sure that systems run. That's what I've always done, and that's why we've run not only a good campaign, but a good U.S. Senate office.
Yeah, and of course, if you add to that he admitted to Barbara Walters, he volunteered to Barbara Walters, that he's lazy.
Yeah.
Wow, what a chief executive that all those qualities make for, right?
Well, he's great at golf.
No, he's not.
He's out there enough playing.
Yeah,
so he should be great at golf. But again, that shows you right now that this is a person that we all said, he never even ran a lemonade stand. This was a community organizer. And community organizers are good at exactly what he did in campaigning, going out there and riling up the masses and truthfully lying to them and promising them everything that they want. But he cannot execute. He does not know how to have a strategic vision, a strategic plan. Look at his failing foreign policy. Look at the failing economic policy. I know a lot of people up there in New York City are all thrilled about the Dow Jones hitting 16,000. But if we were to stop printing money, I guarantee you the Dow Jones would probably be, cut in half within no time, flat, because we're trying to stimulate an economy by printing money, not because of any real strong economic policy ideas that are emanating from this president. As opposed to what John F. Kennedy, who we remember his assassination today, he had a plan, he had a vision, and he talked about it. And the Democrat that John F. Kennedy was, back in 1961 to 63, that's not the Democrat that we see today, and I think that's something that we need to start understanding.
Absolutely, and I just
the president said who he was, and for whatever reason, no one wanted to believe it.
Absolutely, we're talking to Alan West here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Let me play something for you. Part of the horrific statement made while we were down at Restoration Weekend. This was being said by Martin Bashir on MSNBC, talking about Sarah Palin. Let's go at cut 3, and here it is.
Flogged Punch well and then washed and rubbed salt, pickle, lime juice and bird pepper. Made Negro Joe in his eyes and mouth. I could go on, but you get the point. When Mrs. Palin invokes slavery, she doesn't just prove her rank ignorance, she confirms that if anyone truly qualified for a dose of discipline from Thomas Thistlewood, then she would be the outstanding candidate.
Now, what he was alluding to was he read more of that. He read how one slave was forced to defecate and urinate in the mouth of another slave, and he didn't like the terminology, the connection between the health care, Obamacare, and slavery, which I believe, if it has been used before. But he actually said that that should happen to Sarah Palin. Now, MSNBC to this day has not said boo. He apologized yesterday. I had Joe Scarborough on a little while ago, and Scarborough said that he agrees with the apology, and he says, but you could be sure Bashir did not write it all by himself. I mean, is it conceivable at all to you that this guy hasn't been fired or suspended? I mean, you have been the brunt of some horrific attacks, but I've never seen an attack like this, and it's against a woman.
Yeah, well, the Democrat Party, the modern-day Democrat Party, is the party of misogyny, and they're the party of racists. I don't care what Oprah Winfrey says. And to understand, and you and I know what goes into preparing for a show. Obviously, this was a prepared statement that he wrote. This statement had to be loaded up into a teleprompter by others and probably had to be approved by his producers. And then he was reading that statement. So for him to come back and say he apologizes, the only reason he apologizes is because he caught heat for it. Now, the fact that MSNBC has allowed him and Ed Schultz, who his despicable reference to Laura Ingraham as a talk slut, they reward these guys and they give them their shows and they keep them on these shows. And really, that's the essence of the progressive socialist mind. That is the essence of the Saul Alinsky tactic. Saul Alinsky from Chicago, Barack Obama from Chicago, David Axelrod from Chicago, David Plouffe from Chicago, Hillary Clinton from Chicago, Rahm Emanuel from Chicago, Ezekiel Emanuel from Chicago. I think you're getting the idea. This is who they are, and they can say they apologize. They don't mean it. It is all about the tactics of destroying your opposition, destroying their character, freezing a target, eliminating it. That's what Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals is all about, and that's what they will continue to use. And there's a duplicitous hypocrisy out there.
Let me ask you one final question. At Restoration Weekend, I was able to speak with Ted Cruz, and he's been talking a lot about, as others have, about the lawlessness of the Obama administration, how 9 times the U.S. Supreme Court has unanimously rejected the Department of Justice arguments related to various issues, from the EPA to religious freedom, right on down the list, and how this president has time and time again, not only with regard to Obamacare, but with regard to welfare reform, relaxing the work requirement, immigration laws, and DOMA, has decided to change laws, not to enforce laws, to change portions of laws, all by himself without any congressional approval. And Ted Cruz, I asked him if it's impeachable, and he said he would urge the House to use its best judgment. What do you say?
There is no doubt that the president has brought forth impeachable offenses. I mean, we can talk about aiding, abetting the enemy. You can talk about lying to the American people, as he did post Benghazi, and also lying to the American people about keeping their insurance plans and keeping their doctors, period. But then, of course, we see that has been changed. The Affordable Care Act is not a law. It's just an edict. It has been changed and amended 19 different times from the executive branch, who, by the Constitution, is supposed to execute law, not make policy. So, we do have a constitutional crisis in the United States of America, but guess what? I guess my saying this means that I am racist, but if we don't go down that path, the president should resign. And Major General Valley has even said that, the top leadership of this country should resign based upon the direction we're heading. But you have to have honor to be able to do that. And I think also that there's too great of a fear from a lot of people in Congress and the House of Representatives to bring up impeachment charges, because so many people are more concerned about a historical moment than the future of this republic.
Right, and they were afraid of being accused of racism. One more for you. I know I lied. I said that would be one more, but the president.
You're just like the president.
I know, but I only did it once. I only did it once. I didn't repeat it over and over. Let me ask you about the poll numbers. The CBS News poll today, New York Times CBS poll, has his approval rating at 37%. The other one had him at 39%. One had him at 41%. They don't trust him. They think he's dishonest. So everybody must be racist these days. And the health care is so far underwater that about 65% now want to get rid of the whole thing. I mean, is this not vindication for the Republican stance on this all along?
It is vindication, and, the president has no credibility. And remember, I think it was about a month or so ago, I told you he is a pathological liar. He has confidence in lying. He is very comfortable with it. And finally, it has caught up to him and the American people by way of getting these cancellation notices. They don't believe him anymore. How can we go forward for the next 3 years in this country with a president that no one believes in this country, but also a president that no one believes anywhere in this world? We're at a critical point.
Absolutely. Just look at Israel. Who would have thought that Barack Obama, the great the bringer together of people, would bring together Saudi Arabia and Israel, because he abandoned both of them.
And he has brought Russia back into play in Egypt.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the case of Nasser.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, Colonel, always a pleasure. Please, my regards to your lovely wife. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Take care. That's Colonel Alan West, ladies and gentlemen, former congressman, of course, and here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Very, very interesting. Now, the president said just the other day, remember, he said, I didn't know there were going to be problems with the website rollout. I mean, why would I be going around? Something to this effect. People say a lot of things about me, but I'm not going to go around saying, hey, we're going to have a website like Amazon.com if I know there are going to be problems. Why would I promise that? Well, guess what? Another lie. CBS News with a big report last night and this morning, which talks about the fact that the White House, the president himself, was alerted to the problems with the website fully 6 months prior, that this was going to be a disaster. So when he stands there last week and says, hey, people say a lot of things about me, but why would I promise an Amazon.com when I knew there were going to be problems? I didn't know nothing. Yeah, you knew. You did know. You're lying again, according to CBS News. When does the lying stop? When? Now, we're going to play you that report from CBS News when we come back, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. On the other side of the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by Charles Hurt, our friend, and very interesting conversation ahead with him. All of that straight ahead right here on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV and radio.
Meet John and Nancy. They've spent their lives working hard and saving money, knowing that it would pay off in the end. But unfortunately, all that hard work and smart investing has gotten them nowhere. Then one day, John and Nancy picked up a free copy of Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns. This book revealed 24 little-known investments that put them back on track to a happy and secure retirement. Get your free copy of Powerful Secrets at myfinancialage.org.
Have you hit a brick wall with your weight loss? Does your weight management plan need an extra edge for success? If so, listen up. Metabio is the revolutionary weight loss breakthrough designed to help you reach your goal weight as part of your diet and exercise program. Metabio is the premium nutritional supplement power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. When used as part of a healthy lifestyle, each component is formulated to help you reach your goals and maintain your optimal weight and wellness. It supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. Now, learn how you can try a 30-day supply of Metabio. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/special. Act now and also receive instant access to our downloadable special report, a practical guide to healthy weight management. Try it now at themetabio.com/special. That's the metabio.com/special. While supplies last. themetabio.com/special.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today. In this free offer, we are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Call Lear Capital now, 800-634-0482.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
Welcome you back to the show. Ernie Banks was one of the 16 who got the Presidential Medal today, Presidential Medal of Freedom, along with Oprah Winfrey, Bill Clinton, and 13 others. I could do my math. And, of course, Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub, which leads me to believe that President Obama probably had to ask them, now, who's Ernie Banks again? I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I am going to go to the latest revelation of a lie by the aforementioned President Obama. Scott Pelley, CBS Evening News, last night on my way home. I heard it with my own ears, and now you will too. Cut 15.
Tonight, the president was told that the website was in trouble. Newly revealed documents show just how much the administration knew about the problems with healthcare.gov.
Well, but the president told us he didn't know. He didn't know. Hey, I'm a lot of things. I've been called a lot of things, he said. But, hey, but I'm not going to promise an Amazon.com website if I know there's a problem going to be with the website. But you did know, didn't you? Oh, man. Hey, you know what? Not that you really need to, but obviously you might. Just do what Hugo Chavez did. Just nationalize the media. Shut people like Scott Pelley up. That's the only answer, Mr. President. Otherwise, the polls are going to go down, 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 down. All right, cut number 16.
The federal government's health insurance website has had so many problems since it was rolled out on October the 1st. The question has been, why didn't anyone warn the president? Well, it turns out someone did. The White House acknowledged today that administration officials, including President Obama, were briefed on a consultant's report 6 months before healthcare.gov went online, a report that said problems were coming.
There you go. There you go. 6 months. They knew 6 months in advance. And if you tell me, or he tells us that, well, that was 6 months ago. So did you ever think to follow up? Did you ever think to get a status review? Oh, he probably did, and they told him it was A-OK. Please, how much of this could we take? Let's go to cut number 17.
Administration officials said today they took this report's warnings into account and made changes. But Republicans argue that its very existence casts doubt on claims by the president on down that they were caught by surprise by the website's flaws.
With startling foresight, the consulting firm McKinsey predicted more than 6 months ago that the rollout of healthcare.gov would be hobbled by evolving requirements, insufficient time for end-to-end testing, and significant dependency on external parties and contractors. Louisiana Republican Steve Scalise.
This report lays out the chaos that was going on, but all of this information was known within the White House.
Yeah. It was all known within the White House. The president knew. I'm sorry. Now, listen to this. Get a load of this one, okay? Here's cut number 18.
McKinsey was hired by the administration to do the review and interviewed 40 people involved with the website, including Henry Chow, a key manager at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid.
Aware that some document was being prepared because I had gone through the interviews, but towards the end when the briefings occurred, I was not part of them.
Chow told Michigan's John Dingell that recent fears about the website's security are unfounded.
Is healthcare.gov safe?
Yes.
So Chow says healthcare.gov is safe from a security point of view. Your information that you enter, your social security number, your income, your bank records, the names and social security numbers of your family. Is it safe? Yes. You want to hear from 4 security experts not employed by the government? Let's listen to cut 19.
But at a separate hearing, a panel of security experts called the site's safety measures flimsy and ill-constructed. David Kennedy runs a security consulting firm.
But I would say that the website is either hacked already or will be soon.
New York Republican Chris Collins.
Do any of you today think that the site is secure?
No.
No. No.
No.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Mr. Chow says it's secure. I'm putting my money with Mr. Chow. Oh, yes, I'm gonna give them all my private information because I trust the government. And not only do I trust the government, Barack Obama has proven himself to be honest and trustworthy and a good coordinator of this program. And everything he said would happen has happened. And when the HHS secretary sits there and says, well, yeah, a convicted felon might be looking at your Social Security numbers. And then we have tape from James O'Keefe showing these navigators, telling people, cheat, lie, don't report that. You'll get more of a subsidy. I got to tell you, Mr. Chow, my confidence is in you, baby. Screw these security experts. No. What do they know? If it hasn't been hacked already, it'll be hacked very soon. Come on. Come on, folks. Put your personal information in there. Show Barack Obama you're on his side. By the way, if you don't put your Social Security number in there, you're a racist. You're an obstructionist. You're holding this all hostage. You're a kidnapper. You got a gun to the American public's head. Do it for the greater good. If they steal your Social Security number and your identity, Dr. Obama will come to your rescue. Come on. Steve Malzberg Show. Charlie Hurt next. Newsmax TV.
Constipation, gas, bloating. Most people suffer through. But now there's a simple solution for occasional digestive problems called Bactipro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Bactipro is the fiber probiotic formula that supports healthy digestive and immune health. And it comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. Bactipro contains 6 powerful strains of beneficial probiotic bacteria, dietary fiber, and bacteria-nourishing prebiotics, plus powerful antioxidants. Now you can receive a 30-day supply of Bactipro. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit Bactipro.com/special. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Improve your digestive health now. Learn how you can receive your 30-day supply at Bactipro.com/special. That's BACTIPRO.com/special. Bactipro.com/special.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. Sexual assaults in the military continue to rise at an alarming rate, up 46% in the last year alone, a recent Pentagon report shows. Well, today the Senate votes on an amendment sponsored by New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand that would dramatically change how the military handles sex assault cases. 50 senators have signed on to support the Gillibrand amendment, which would strip military commanders of their ability to prosecute sex crimes. Sarah Plummer, a victim of sexual assault in the military, says this is something that she wants.
Leaving these cases within the chain of command exacerbates the process of repeat victimization.
However, passage of the amendment is far from guaranteed. A bipartisan group of senators, led by Missouri Democrat Claire McCaskill, oppose the Gillibrand plan. They've presented their own amendment, which would keep the decision to prosecute in the hands of military commanders. In Virginia, State Senator Craig Deeds remains in fair condition with stab wounds to his head and chest after an altercation yesterday inside his rural Virginia home. Police say the 55-year-old Democrat who unsuccessfully ran for governor 4 years ago was stabbed by his son.
Based on the evidence we have right now, we are looking into this as an attempted murder.
and suicide.
Deed's son, who went by the name of Gus, was found inside the family home dead of a gunshot wound. The 24-year-old had apparently battled psychiatric problems, and on Monday, a magistrate issued an emergency custody order for Gus after he was evaluated by doctors. A lot of folks say this highlights the fact that there is a real issue within our mental health system. And Florida Representative Trey Riddell pleaded guilty Wednesday to cocaine possession. The Florida Republican was sentenced to 1 year probation for misdemeanor possession. Riddell has apologized to his constituents, saying that he struggles with alcoholism and intends to seek treatment and counseling. The 37-year-old bought cocaine from an undercover federal agent in a buy-bust operation back on October 29th. Riddell said in a statement that he made an extremely irresponsible choice. He is the first sitting member of Congress charged with a drug offense since former Representative Frederick Richmond, a Democrat from New York, was convicted back in 1982. And at least 2 people are dead as rescue crews continue to search for possible survivors of a plane crash miles off the Florida coast. The pilot in the crash reported engine failure and to air traffic controllers, declaring a mayday before attempting to return to the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. A spokesman for the airport said a medical flight was returning to Cozumel, Mexico after dropping off a patient here in Florida. Authorities are still searching for the other 2 people who were on board and are still missing. And coming up next on your Newsmax Now update, an exclusive interview with Congressman Cory Gardner of Colorado. Plus, folks in Florida get to see this all the time, but not in places like New York or Philadelphia. Why they had a spectacular view of this rocket launch. Next.
Constipation, gas, bloating. Most people suffer through. But now there's a simple solution for occasional digestive problems called Back2Pro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Back2Pro is the fiber probiotic formula that supports healthy digestive and immune health. And it comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. Back2Pro contains 6 powerful strains of beneficial probiotic bacteria, dietary fiber, and bacteria-nourishing prebiotics, plus powerful antioxidants. Now you can receive a 30-day supply of Back2Pro. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit Back2Pro.com/special. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Improve your digestive health now. Learn how you can receive your 30-day supply at Back2Pro.com/special. That's BACTIPRO.com/special. Back2Pro.com/special.
Drug, alcohol, and gambling addiction can be devastating for you and your loved ones. Don't let the disease of addiction ruin everything you've worked so hard for. The Treatment Helpline has helped thousands of people just like you take control of their addictions and live healthier, cleaner, and happier lives. You are not alone. Now there's hope. The Treatment Helpline has helped people just like you overcome their addiction. If you or a loved one is suffering from a drug, alcohol, or gambling addiction, let us help you today. Call 1-800-813-9821. Our seasoned addiction treatment professionals can show you how to use your private health insurance to help cover the costs of this life-changing program. Call now and get a free confidential consultation. 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821. Help is only a phone call away. Call 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821.
Welcome back. Folks in Florida get to see it a lot. People in New York, well, not so much, but they did last night. Millions of Americans up and down the East Coast got a stellar view of this rocket launch. The Minotaur rocket blasted off from Wallops Island, Virginia at about 8:15 last night. Its red glare was easily visible from Manhattan and even southern Canada. And during an exclusive interview with Newsmax TV, Colorado Representative Cory Gardner shares what he thinks was the most disturbing thing that came out of a recently released document about Obamacare and healthcare.gov. Gardner serves on the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Yesterday they had a hearing and they learned that HHS Secretary Kathleen Sebelius knew there were security concerns with the Obamacare website, but pressed ahead with its rollout anyway.
I think clearly the urgency of meeting their October 1st deadline in their mind outweighed the urgency of making sure that the American public's personal identification information is safe and secure.
For more exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax TV and Newsmax.com.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling toll-free 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
There is a larger problem that I probably speak personally, but also as the administration, could have identified earlier, and that is the way the federal government does procurement and does IT is just generally not very efficient.
I don't even want to hear this anymore. I don't really even care what he says anymore. He's better off like just taking a vacation until this is all fixed, if it's ever fixed, and just not saying anything anymore. Joining us now is our friend Charles Hurt, fine columnist for the Washington Times. Hello, Charles.
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
I'm fine. Great piece today. I love the way it starts. Disgrace and embarrassment, utter disregard for the law. Toronto's crack mayor Rob Ford. No, President Obama.
Yeah, I think actually we might actually be in better shape if all we were talking about here was the president smoking crack or having some drunken rage on a videotape, because that stuff, all that is just going to go away when Rob Ford leaves the Toronto mayoralty. But the stuff that President Obama is doing and the ways in which he is undermining the Constitution, completely ignoring the Constitution, he's rewritten his health care law twice. And then there are countless other examples that you probably will more quickly remember all of them, where he just simply takes executive action, goes around, and he was a constitutional expert.
Well, I want you to hear, I had a conversation with Senator Ted Cruz, and I want you to hear cut 32. He addressed that, and then Al Sharpton played it on his show last night. Here's cut 32.
One of the most troubling aspects of the Obama administration is, aside from their radical policy, the way they've implemented it has sadly been lawless. Over and over again, this president has said, I don't care what the law is, I'm going to refuse to enforce it.
He's accusing the president of being lawless because he's implementing the health care law. I mean, Michelle, this is incredible.
All right, yeah, incredible indeed. Ted Cruz is absolutely right, and law after law, Charles, as you alluded to, whether it's not enforcing DOMA, whether it's the welfare overhaul where he relaxed the work requirement, whether it's not deporting people who need to be deported, it just goes on and on and on.
And it's gotten to the point where it has become such an entrenched precedent. And these things are very important to in a government like this. It has become such entrenched precedent that any future president can take go into the Oval Office and say, well, this precedent has been laid out, so I can certainly do this. And at some point, it's like having a child. If you let them get away with something right in front of you again and again and again and again, that 12th time or 50th time, you're kind of on shaky ground when you say, no, you're not allowed to do that. And unfortunately, Ted Cruz is exactly right. It is true. It is the definition of lawless. But for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's because polite people don't like to. It's like accusing someone of being a liar. You don't like to accuse somebody of completely usurping the Constitution, and so it's almost like we are having a hard time mustering up the shock and outrage over this that we really should have.
But why would you not want to go after somebody for doing this to the Constitution? No other president has done this. I mean, is it because anybody is afraid of using the I word, as I brought up to Cruz, and Cruz said I would urge the Congress or the House, he said, to use their best judgment when considering this as an impeachment issue? I mean, why not? Is it because the guy's black?
Yeah, there's certainly the race issue has got to be. You can't discount it because the media has fallen all over itself to give this president passes at every turn that they would never give anybody. I mean, the idea that this business with the rollout of the law that is such a disaster, that is going to reach deeply into people's personal lives, these people, somebody that's had insurance all this time and suddenly they lose their insurance, and then he says, oh, no, but you can have your insurance back. You think those insurance companies are going to bring those people back?
No.
You really are looking at people. People could die because of this. Americans could die because of this.
He's created total chaos through his incompetence and his lying. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean that.
And the media is, they're obviously they're reporting the stories now and everything, but it's nothing like the level of ghastly scandal that it should be.
I agree with you. I agree. As a matter of fact, they're now picking up the line, which Obama's helping to set up, and this is, I guess, what they came up with in their strategy sessions, that going forward now, hey, the Republicans are to blame in part for this because they never did anything to support Obama. Not one of them voted for this, so it's their fault that it's failing. Go figure that one out.
that the logic or the non-logic there is it's demonic. It's diabolical. It is so. It is such a lie to sit there and try to make the argument, because it sounds right. Al Sharpton, who's not the sharpest guy in the world, although a wonderful shoot from the hip speaker. I love interviewing him, but he's not. He'll follow the logic, this logic, and he'll fall for it. The notion that because Republicans or conservatives have been against this all along is somehow to be blamed, is the reason for the face plant out of the gate is preposterous.
It is.
But it's the president preying on the ignorance of his supporters.
Absolutely. All right, we're talking to Charles Hurt, Washington Times. We haven't spoken since Martin Bashir opened his mouth again in what is probably the most despicable thing I've ever heard anybody say, not only about anyone, but especially a woman. I mean, I've never heard anyone talk about this at all, ever. Now, Joe Scarborough was on with me earlier. He made some news. He said that, first of all, whenever someone on MSNBC says something that goes, that he considers to be over the line, he marches into Phil Griffin's office and says either they apologize or I talk about it. He says Bashir, he didn't hear it when it happened. He agrees with the apology, but he said you could bet he didn't write that on his own. So now what do you think should happen to Bashir, and the fact that nothing has happened to Bashir?
Yeah, I don't know what should happen to him, but I tell you, it reveals to me the depth of the jaundice that occupies these, quote unquote mainstream. He's not really mainstream, I don't think. Certainly not anymore. But I mean, these people, they are filled with such vitriolic hate for people like Sarah Palin and a lot of these other American, voters that don't agree with their politics. They are so vicious and they are so toxic. And they think they can say anything to them, and it is just so mind-blowing because, of course, the rest of us live under the tyranny of this notion that we're supposed to, of political correctness, where we can never go outside the lines and say something, and if you do, you get killed for it. But this isn't even just this isn't outside the lines. This is on a different planet in terms of inappropriateness, disgustingness, and distortion of what Sarah Palin said in the first place.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you one question, Charles, because we only have a few seconds left. Does Obamacare cover Palin derangement syndrome? I don't know if you have to. I mean, it covers contraception, but I'm not sure if it covers Palin derangement syndrome.
As long as it's the death panels that are handling that, I'll be okay.
All right, Charles. Always great to talk to you. Thanks for your time as always, sir.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, bye. Charles Hurt, ladies and gentlemen, Washington Times columnist. When we come back, George W. Bush was on Leno yesterday. I want to let you hear some of that, and I want to talk about it a little bit when we come back. And then a very interesting guest at the bottom. He was a courtroom reporter for the Nuremberg trials. Right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV.
Meet John and Nancy. They've spent their lives working hard and saving money, knowing that it would pay off in the end. But unfortunately, all that hard work and smart investing has gotten them nowhere. Then one day, John and Nancy picked up a free copy of Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns. This book revealed 24 little-known investments that put them back on track to a happy and secure retirement. Get your free copy of Powerful Secrets at myfinancialage.org.
Do you suffer from joint discomfort? Contrary to what the experts may say, achy joints do not have to be a normal part of aging. Holistic doctor David Brownstein challenged conventional thinking to focus on natural solutions for joint health. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Limbex, the premium nutritional supplement specifically formulated to support healthy joints and connective tissue. It's a new joint breakthrough formula containing 11 hand-picked nutrients. Learn more at limbexjoint.com/special and take the 30-day Healthy Joint Challenge. That's a 30-day supply of the Limbex Joint Supplement. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Happy, Healthy Joints at Any Age. You can do something about joint discomfort and flexibility. Learn how you can try it for 30 days at limbexjoint.com/special. That's limbexjoint.com/special. limbexjoint.com/special.
A hot new book by Craig Smith argues that the greenback is now at high risk thanks to our spendthrift politicians. Mark Twain said, "The truth is stranger than fiction." The same is true of the Great Debasement, which began a century ago with the creation of the Federal Reserve and income tax. The result, today's dollar retains just 2 cents of its original buying power. Yes, progressive politicians have engineered the largest wealth confiscation in history, creating in essence a fourth branch of government. Learn what must be done to preserve your money if the dollar crashes. The good news is Swiss America is offering the Great Debasement, a $20 value free of charge for this special radio offer.
800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. Call Swiss America now for a free DVD. 800-818-3967.
According to the FBI Uniform Crime Report, there are over 5,000 robberies every day. Your home could be at risk of being burglarized. Don't put your loved ones and valuables in jeopardy. For just over $1 per day, your home can be protected from break-ins, fire, and more. Get the latest home security technology from Protect Your Home, your ADT authorized dealer. Over 6 million households sleep better at night with ADT monitored home security. What's more, Protect Your Home is offering you their latest equipment, an $850 value, absolutely free for qualified customers. Protect your loved ones and home today. Call now for licenses and to find out more. The call is free, 1-800-949-8201. That's 1-800-949-8201. Again, 1-800-949-8201. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $36.99 per month. Payment by credit card or electronic bank account charge. For new homeowner customers with satisfactory credit history only. Local permit fees may be required. Certain restrictions apply. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com.
Crescio.com/special. That's CRESCEO.com/special. Crescio.com/special.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show. No. This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
You've tried to stay out of the spotlight for the last few years or so, so I was actually pleasantly surprised you accepted our invitation.
Only because of you.
Well, that's very kind. Well, thank you. Well, that's very kind. That's very kind.
I mean, you're about to head out to pasture. Just want to see what you look like before you got to the gate.
Thank you. That's very kind. Thank you very kind. Now, I know you've avoided talking policy for the last 6 or 7 years. Explain why.
I don't think it's good for the country to have a former president criticize his successor.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, President Obama is kind of getting all the late night jokes now. Are you?
Better him than me.
You are, there you are.
All right, look, I got to tell you something. I was already in bed. I put on the Tonight Show. I think I had the news on Channel 4. I don't really watch the Tonight Show. And although I like Leno better than Letterman, certainly, but these days I either watch the rerun of Everyone Loves Raymond or Seinfeld or something, or I go to sleep. And so the Tonight Show came on, and they said they could have George W. Bush. So I made it a point to stay up. Later on, Laura Bush came out. And it went on and on. I mean, he was so... First of all, I got to tell you, he makes so few public appearances that when he does, and I love these signs you see somewhere, picture of him saying, "You miss me yet?" I got to tell you, they did a poll yesterday that came out, ABC News, Washington Post poll, that had a fictional rematch of Obama and Romney. And Romney won that by 4 points. I'd like to see the fictional matchup of Obama and Bush. And I have to tell you, I would bet, as I said yesterday, that Bush would win. And the way I react personally, when I see George W. Bush, especially now, after he's been gone, even though I felt this way about him when he was in there, but when I see him now, 5 years removed, after what this country has become, after what this country has gone through, after the people running this country, the people on Homeland Security, the people running in the State Department, the people at the UN, I mean, every appointment, the Supreme Court nominee appointments, I mean, when I see where we have gone, our foreign policy, the Muslim Brotherhood support, the trashing of Israel, and Saudi Arabia's relationship is gone, and sitting down and begging Iran to ask them, do you want us to lick your boots, Iran? Boy, oh boy, that all enters into how I feel, I'm sure. But I think mostly I feel the way I feel, and I'll tell you how in a second, because it's how I feel about George W. Bush himself. I've never had the honor of meeting him. He's probably the one person alive that I haven't met that I would really, really want to meet. He's top of the list. If I could get someone on this show, and Rich Carbella, our fine producer, knows that. He knows that. He's working feverishly, not just working hard, but feverishly, as we speak, to help arrange that. But anyway, there's just if I put them side by side, I guess that's the best way to explain it. Let's start. I look at Barack Obama, especially if he's side by side with George Bush. What? Not trustworthy, self-described lazy, always late for press conferences, not a great respect for the history of this nation, not a fan of success unless it's its own success or the success of his cronies and his buddies and his bundlers, cold, detached, looking to change everything we love about this country, weakening this country, feminizing the military and this country, trying to tear down just about everything that we hold dear, redefining what the American dream is from, owning the world. Hey, kid, you could grow up to be anything. What do you want to be? I want to have 17,000 cars. I want to live in a mansion. I want to be a zillionaire. And what did Obama define verbally the American dream as not too long ago? Having a good job and living in a nice house. That's the American dream? That's what he's making the American dream, because people can't even afford to do that anymore. Then I look at George W. Bush, and I see a man who may not have always made the right decisions, but he believed in his heart that the decisions he was making were the best decisions to make for America. He looked to his faith, and he let that guide him in many respects. He is a man of faith. He's a God-fearing man who loves the United States of America. There is absolutely no doubt about that. And it's not because he's white, and it's not because Obama's black. It's because Obama's Obama and Bush is Bush. I'll find you some white people that I think despise America, and black people who love and adore this country like Alan West, who we just had on. Like Ben Carson, who we had on the other day. Prominent names. I could find names you never heard of. So it's not black and white. It's not about that, Chris Matthews. It's not about that, MSNBC. It is not. It's that looking at George Bush, watching him, listening to him. A man who made sure we were safe and strong and respected. A man who, whatever you think of his policies, you really can't doubt that he did what he believed was best, and he did it out of love of country. He did it out of respect for the oath he took on the Constitution of the United States. And I don't get that with Obama. I don't get it, because I know Obama, his vision of America, the way he'd like to remake America, fundamentally change America as he said he would, and he is not the America I want to live in. 70% think the country's going in the wrong direction. It's not the country Americans want to live in. Oh, do I long for a president like George W. Bush, who wants to keep that American dream and make it real and make it possible and give everyone hope. And that 5% unemployment that he had for most of his term. And the strength and respect America had. Oh, they hated us. They don't like us. Yeah, they love us now, huh? They really love us. Iran's in love with us. Congratulations, Dr. Obama. We're coming back. Steve Malzberg Show.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time radio offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659.
That's 800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream is streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to the very aptly named Steve Malzberg show. I'm trying to find the soundbite that goes along with this. It's a soundbite for the guests that we are welcoming in right now. Harold Burson, legendary public relations executive and courtroom reporter for the Nuremberg trials in 1945. Hello, Harold. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
I have to tell you, it is an honor and a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for doing this with us today.
I'm very happy to do that.
All right. Explain how you came to be a courtroom reporter back in the Nuremberg trials.
Well, after the war was over in 1945, May, I had been with a combat engineer unit, and I knew I was going to have to stay in Europe another year before being discharged. And since I had been a reporter for my hometown newspaper in Memphis, Tennessee, the Commercial Appeal, I wanted to get into some other line of activity that would make better use of my talents. And I was able to get a job with the American Forces Network, which was the Army network in Europe. And it was a very good operation. We had about 63 stations across Europe. One of the great benefits for being with AFN in their news department was that you got to stay and live in Paris, which I did for 5 months after the war. And I was writing, we did news 12, 3, 6, 9, and also 5 minutes on the hour, and I was one of the people who updated the news as it came over the AP and other wires.
Right, you were one of, I believe, 2 soldiers who basically provided the scripts for
yes, I did most of the scripts, and that came about when the commanding officer of AFN called me up to his office in early November and said, we're going to really do a lot of coverage on Nuremberg, and we want you to go there and be our reporter. And I did the writing, and they had supplemented me with 4, during the course of the trial, people who had been professional and news announcers back in the States before they got into the Army.
And they've just released the audio book arm of Amazon.com, known as Audible.com, has just released the aforementioned report from Nuremberg, the International War Crimes Trial. It's basically it's an audio documentation of reenactment, if you will, of the trial. Correct?
That's right. That's right. And it's very interesting. It was on my shelf. I kept my scripts, and they were on my shelf at home for 65 years or thereabouts. And Joe Nocera, who is a columnist at New York Times, found out that I had covered Nuremberg, and he did a column on me. And there was a tremendous amount of interest expressed after he wrote that column, including some publishers. And the result of it is that Audible has put together this audio package.
And by the way, you're also donating those original transcripts of yours that you've had on the shelf, as you said. You're donating them to the United States Holocaust Museum in D.C., correct?
Yes, I did that yesterday.
And tell me what inspired you to do that. Was that something you had planned to do all along?
No, actually, I had planned to leave all of my papers to Boston University. And the reason for Boston University is that it was the first college to offer a degree in public relations. And I have had a close relationship with them for the last 30 or 40 years. And I had just thought I'd just include my Nuremberg scripts along with other papers that I had. And then I started thinking about it, and I felt that there was more relevance to having them at the Holocaust Museum than it was at Boston University. And so I called up the museum and told them what I had, and they welcomed my gift, and I'm glad that it's there.
No, I'm absolutely sure that they're very glad to have it. We're talking to Harold Burson, PR executive, and he was a courtroom reporter for the Nuremberg trials. God, you're a national treasure. I mean, you're one of the few people who are left, and certainly one of the, and there were only two of you to start with, who could claim to have done what you've done. What was it like? When you look back, what sticks out in your mind the most when people ask you to talk about this, as I'm sure they've asked you for your whole lifetime?
Well, it was a heady experience for me. I was 24 years old when I was there. I considered myself a fairly competent reporter and writer, and an event like the Nuremberg trials attracted the very best correspondents from all over the world. And I was, one of them, and they accepted me. I was one of the very few correspondents there whose product could be heard live. BBC, of course, could do the same thing, but I got a lot of compliments from the fellow correspondents that I had breakfast with, lunch, and dinner, and associated with for the better part of 5 months at the trial.
Well, I want to play for the folks a little bit of the key moments from your now released report from Nuremberg. Let's give a listen. Will, let's give a listen.
Among those sentenced was Baldo von Schirach. He will serve 20 years in prison, but the evil he implanted in the young men and women of Germany will take more than 20 years to destroy. Now the defendants know who is to die, but we speak for the millions killed because of them. The burned towns, the widows, the fatherless, and the unspeakable horrors of the murder camps. This was the work of the Führers. Let us now have done with them forever.
I mean, when is that actually from your presentation, your report?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
it's just so hard to look at, and certainly when you hear it all these years later, when you think back to the trial, what the trials were about, and what you were sitting and listening to and keeping a record of, and actually through your pen and your writings bringing to the outside world. What do you think now, looking back at what man did to man, and in a relatively short period of time? We're not talking about hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago. We're talking about several decades ago.
Well, I have some mixed emotions about it because the Nuremberg trial came into being because there was this, what we now would say, a naive dream that if you let the people who ran countries, who governed countries, know that if they stepped over the line on human rights, if they started a war, if they really were pillaging the country, that there was a court that would try them and convict them, and that they would have to pay a price for it. After 5 or 6 years of war, as was the case back then, people were yearning for peace. The President, Franklin Roosevelt, at the time, was very strongly instrumental in forming the United Nations, and I think the expectation level was much, much higher than what has proved to be the case. So, in a way, I think the trial did some good because it set a benchmark, and it has had some success in a few countries, particularly the Balkan Wars, when the heads of several countries were convicted after their trial. But on the other hand, it did not realize the objective that people thought it was going to, and that is that we would have a peace-free world after World War II.
Yeah, and when you look, do you follow what's going on now, and you look at Iran? Do you think back to the appeasement of Hitler, and do you?
Very much so.
Yeah.
I follow the news very closely. Also, what's happening in Syria, what's happening in the middle of Africa. People just are greedy for more territory, for more power, and unfortunately, once they get in charge of a country and have an army, they make use of it.
One final question, Harold, and I really appreciate talking to you. Do you think it's impossible that there'll ever be another Holocaust, or do you think that is a possibility?
If I hadn't lived 92 years, I may have had a different answer, but my feeling is that conflict is part of the human existence. And I think people who have not or think they have not are going to try to take what they think is theirs. And I just think that's built into the human character.
Listen, Harold, it has been an honor and a pleasure, and I really urge everyone, because World War II soldiers or anybody who could speak firsthand, and what Harold has done is preserved all of that by giving his papers to the Holocaust Museum in D.C., but perhaps more importantly, Report from Nuremberg, the International War Crimes Trial. It's an audible reenactment of the trials, and I think every one of us and our children need to learn what those trials were all about. Harold, God bless you. Thank you, sir.
And thank you.
My pleasure. Harold Burson, ladies and gentlemen. Very fast. I can't imagine. Sitting through those trials and being one of two soldiers, getting the word out to the public. It's just wow. I mean, you talk about being chosen for a purpose, and that's exactly it appears what his purpose has been. And he's 92 years old. All right, folks, we have one final segment left in this Wednesday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show. We've already made news with Joe Scarborough, and when we come back, a few sound bites you want to hear right here. That's Hearhere. Get it? On the Steve Malzberg.
Do you have trouble remembering things you've known for years? Do you want to maintain your mental edge, support your memory, focus, and attention? After extensive research, Dr. Russell Blaylock discovered 4 essential nutrients that help sustain optimal brain function. Dr. Russell Blaylock then personally formulated Crescio, the dietary supplement containing these 4 brain boosters that promote brain cognitive health, improve learning and retention. Crescio supports brain circulation and provides antioxidant protection. And now you can receive a 30-day supply of Crescio. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit Crescio.com/special. Act now and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, Nature's Brain Boosters, Essential Nutrients for Peak Mental Performance. Give your brain the healthy support it needs. Learn how you can receive your 30-day supply at Crescio.com/special. That's Cresceo.com/special. Crescio.com/special.
Meet John and Nancy. Like many people, John and Nancy have spent their whole lives working hard, saving their money and investing wisely, knowing that it would pay off in the end. But the reality is, today's world is not the same as it was. John and Nancy's stocks have taken them on a serious roller coaster ride, and it's all but destroyed their retirement funds. Their house is not even close to being worth what they paid, and to boot, their middle-class paychecks no longer cover their costs. All that hard work and smart investing has gotten them nowhere. In fact, they are no longer thinking about when they will retire, they're wondering if they'll retire. Then one day, John and Nancy heard about a man named Tom Hutchison, a veteran of Wall Street for over 2 decades. Tom noticed that the wealthy invested differently than normal people, and their methods seemed to be a secret they didn't want to share. So Tom left his job, compiled the strategies, and published them in the controversial book, Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns. John and Nancy immediately picked up a copy, began investing, and never looked back. Thanks to Powerful Secrets, John and Nancy now have investments that pay up to 20% a year. They learned about unique tax-advantaged investments, and their favorite chapter revealed a strategy that anyone can use to turn $50,000 into $1 million. Now, John and Nancy have control of their financial future in this new reality, and they have peace of mind about their investments that they never had before. Best of all, they are back on track to a secure retirement. To get your free copy of the book, Powerful Secrets to Achieve Superior Returns, simply visit www.myfinancialage.org.
Have you hit a brick wall with your weight loss? Does your weight management plan need an extra edge for success? If so, listen up. Metabio is the revolutionary weight loss breakthrough designed to help you reach your goal weight as part of your diet and exercise program. Metabio is the premium nutritional supplement power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. When used as part of a healthy lifestyle, each component is formulated to help you reach your goals and maintain your optimal weight and wellness. It supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. Now, learn how you can try a 30-day supply of Metabio. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/special. Act now and also receive instant access to our downloadable special report, a practical guide to healthy weight management. Try it now at themetabio.com/special. That's the METABIO.com/special. While supplies last. themetabio.com/special.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50 non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-430-1309. 800-430-1309. 800-430-1309.
29. That's 800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
Get off the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll free at 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Now, what's your take on Obamacare? Been having any fun with that?
Well, you know what? I have. Because I don't understand how a 4-year-old can upload videos and put a whole website together.
Right.
And these guys can't do jack.
Right.
I mean, but the best. But wait, you might not like the rest of this. Hold on. What really gets me though is it's like they say, you know, he did this, like he built the thing himself. He didn't do that. He gave it to people. It cost $17 billion to make, and it's like everything else that the government does. Right. This is not new.
All right, there's Whoopi Goldberg as we welcome you back to the Steve Malzberg Show, final segment of the Wednesday edition. Tomorrow, among our guests, Donald Trump will be here joining us, so make note of that. 3 to 6 Eastern Time, noon to 3 Pacific Time on NewsmaxTV.com. Of course, if you're watching us now, you know where it is, and if you're listening on the radio, or in Roku, whatever, you could watch us as well at NewsmaxTV.com. Now, that was Whoopi Goldberg. Now, you understand she mocked the government and the Obamacare website for, you know, hey, a 4-year-old could put a website together. But then she wanted to make clear it's not him. They talk about him, his. It's not him. It's someone else. Of course, Whoopi. Of course. And to insinuate that Obama's responsible for anything would be racist. We understand that. We do understand that. But then she added at the end something very revealing and true and a little surprising. Government. It's government doing it, and this is not new. Well, then I'm sure, Whoopi, you spoke out on The View every day against government taking over our health care and 1/6 of our economy. Right, Whoopi? Because you know, as you just alluded to, that government doesn't do it well, doesn't do anything well. Oh, what's that? She didn't speak out against the concept of Obamacare? Whoopi, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with you? You knew better, yet you didn't speak out. All right, let's move on. Peter Beinart. You may know Peter Beinart. He's with the Daily Beast. And he was on, where was he? He was on, I don't know where he was. I'll find out. Oh, CNN. Listen to this take. This is a bigoted take. It's a disgusting take on marriage opponents. And it's an all too familiar take from people on the left. Let's listen to cut 24.
I don't think you can actually respect somebody to whom you want to deny the most basic rights. You wouldn't say that you can respect an African American, but simply not be in favor of them having the right to vote or equal accommodations or the right to marry a white person. Right? Yeah. We would say this is fundamentally an issue of respect. And I think this is what's great about this is how things are changing. This has been the right wing's kind of line for a couple of years now, basically, that we just happen to disagree with you about these issues, but of course we love you and we respect you and we feel compassion. No, we get to a stage as a society which says if you don't accept that people have the same basic rights as other people, African Americans, Jews, Muslims,
but to counter that argument,
you don't respect marriage.
Them. All right. This is a tragic argument. It's really an unfortunate argument. First of all, comparing blacks to gays when it comes to civil rights and equality, saying that if a black and a white couldn't be married, using that as an example to equate to two men not being able to get married, is very, very unfortunate and sad. Again, I don't think that Rosie O'Donnell is Rosa Parks. I don't think that the basketball player who came out, I don't think he's Jackie Robinson by any stretch of anyone's imagination. And I feel sad. I feel sad when people say that. especially if they're not black. If we're all entitled to our opinion. If you're black, then I respect your opinion even more. But if you're not black and you make that, hold them up as being equal, I don't see it. I think it's offensive. I know it's offensive to me as a white person. Now, to say that you can't love and respect and welcome family members or non-family members. Obviously, this is an extension of a discussion about the Cheney sisters, or as Chris Matthews would call them, the Cheney sisters. Absolutely, you could welcome, respect, and have family members who you disagree with on any issue. And the issue of gay marriage, the issue of traditional marriage, this is a very polarizing issue. And for the left, like Beinhart and others who are running with this story, to say that, well, and they've been saying it for years, this is what the quote-unquote gay rights lobby will have you believe. They'll slap an H for homophobe on your chest if you don't capitulate with everything that they believe you should think, how you should think. You can accept people, welcome people, include people, love people who are gay, and still say, I don't believe you have the right to marry. You can. I have. And you can. Labeling people who don't as bigots and homophobes and racists and whatever is divisive. It's obscene. And worst of all, it's just not going to go anywhere towards healing on this issue. So stop the bigotry, leftists. All right? All right. I know that's asking a lot. I know it's asking a lot. Steve Malzberg Show, Donald Trump.